Hi friends. In this video, we will listen to an excellent explanation of How It Ends movie. How It Ends is an American action thriller movie full of fantastic story. In this explanation video, we will see a wonderful story about a mysterious disaster young lawyer who accompanied by his future father-in-law and embarks on a dangerous journey to rescue his fiancée from Seattle. I hope you will all like this explanation video. If you really like my amazing explanation video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe the channel to watch the next video. So without further ado, let's hear the main story. The opening scene features a couple named Will and Sam who are expecting their first child. However, there is a problem, they aren't married yet. As a result, Will must seek permission from her parents, particularly her strict father, Tom, who harbors disapproval for reasons unknown. Sam advises Will to go easy on her father and not to bring up the particular boat incident when Will puts barnacles on his balls and calls himself the captain. Not that funny. Following this, he travels from Seattle to Chicago to meet her parents as Will arrives at his destination. Sam's mother, Paula, welcomes him inside. Things get awkward as soon as he meets Tom, who treats him quite coldly. Here we learn that Tom is a retired soldier who served in the armed forces for more than 30 years. Later, at dinner, they discuss helping Will and Sam purchase a house, but Tom is also concerned about protecting his money in case the two break up. He believes that will influence his daughter to move away from her parents. Hearing this, Will gets angry and reveals that it was actually Sam's idea to relocate. He also discloses that it's specifically because she doesn't want her father breathing down her neck all the time. This causes an argument to ensue between the two, and as a result Will leaves without mentioning about the pregnancy or the wedding. The next day, Sam calls him before his flight back. She seems to be aware of what happened the previous night and decides to talk to him. Once he reaches the air report, in the midst of their conversation, a strange sound emanates from Sam's background, causing her to be scared. She claims that something is wrong, but before they can discuss further the line goes dead. Will repeatedly attempts to call back and also leaves a voice message. But he is unable to reach her. He then hurries to the airport to catch his flight to Seattle, only to discover that all flights are cancelled. There is a TV news report discussing preliminary reports on a seismic event off the west coast of the United States that is disrupting electrical power and telecommunications. Unable to comprehend the situation, he decides to return to Sam's parents' apartment. As he exits the airport, there is already a huge traffic jam with people trying to get cab rides. He then hands extra money to a cab driver and secures himself a ride. Upon arriving at the apartment, he finds that Sam's parents are already packing up to leave. Not being able to reach their daughter worries them as well, so Tom decides to drive to Seattle and get his daughter rather than waiting for flights. He asks if Will is coming with them, to which the latter says yes, but only if you call me the captain. After this, the two set off on a long road trip to Seattle. As they drive out, they witness that the city has already turned very chaotic. Sometime later, they arrive at a gas station where a huge pile of cars and people are all fighting for supplies while filling up the gas. Some local goons try to intimidate Will for money. Tom cleverly plays along and tells them that he has cash in the trunk. However, he surprises the thugs by brandishing a gun, scaring them away as they resume their journey. Dad complains to Tom about why you are carrying a firearm. In response, he says that if the goons had taken their car and money, it would already have been game over. After a while of driving, they encounter another problem. The army is closing off the interstate for safety reasons. However, upon invoking his prior service as a Marine officer and explaining the situation, Tom manages to persuade them to let his car through. Following this, the two drove non-stop for the entire day. As it gets dark, they are pulled over by a police car. However, it turns out that the driver is not a police officer but rather a civilian with a shotgun. The man opens fire, prompting Will and Tom to get inside their car and speed away. After a brief chase, the duo manages to escape momentarily, using another abandoned vehicle to block the crazy man's path. They then exit the highway and take a narrow way. Suddenly, some deer come into their path, causing them to swerve and crash. Of course they do, and due to this, the pursuer catches them again. Little did they know that they were dealing with a deer man. As the man holds Will at gunpoint, Tom manages to attack him from behind and knock him down. This commotion causes Tom's ribs to get fractured. In the aftermath of this event, they use the police vehicle to tow their damaged car to a nearby reservation. There, they meet a female mechanic named Ricky, who agrees to repair their car, but not at a higher price. In the midst of this, they witness an unusual sight, a flock of birds flying in an odd formation. After the repair, Tom worries that their car might break down again. Knowing that Ricky wants to go to California, he asks her to accompany them on their journey. The repair girl is initially hesitant, but she eventually agrees when Tom offers her a huge sum of $2,000. Following this, the trio embarks on their road trip. Along the way, they observe another anomaly. Their compass needle continuously rotates, indicating disrupted magnetic fields in the area. While discussing this, a car in front of them suddenly loses control and crashes because, of course, it does rush to the scene to check. They find all the occupants dead. Just then, a group of armed men arrives, prompting the trio to drive away without getting into any further trouble. Later on, they pull over on the side of the road to refill the gas in their vehicle. During this, the clouds form a menacing shape, and the weather starts getting worse soon after. A storm of lightning and rain ensues, compelling them to seek shelter under a bridge until it stops. As the days pass, things only get more and more intense, and the temperature rises, prompting them to increase the AC in the car. At one point, they decide to pull over at an abandoned water park in search of some supplies. Ricky, who is excited to see a pool, jumps in, expecting cool water. However, the temperature rise has warmed the water as though the devil himself took a pee in there. The two guys laugh at her action and then proceed to scavenge some supplies before resuming their journey. As the evening dawns, they notice that the fields on the side of the road have caught fire. Despite this, they continue to drive forward soon after they are stopped by a woman who pleads for help, claiming that she has a flat tire. The trio, in a generous gesture, steps out of their car to help her, but much to their shock, but not mine, it turns out to be a trap as a group of armed men surrounds them. They hold the three of them at gunpoint and steal all of their gasoline reserves. They request that they leave them with just one gas can, but please fall on deaf ears. They rob everything and abandon them to die in the middle of the road, knowing that they are doomed without fuel. The three decide to give them a chase and reclaim their supplies. After an intense chase, they eventually catch up to the thugs. Ricky shoots out the tires, causing their car to flip and crash with the surrounding fire and the crashed car's leaking gas tank. They barely have enough time to take their gasoline back, but fortunately, they manage to retrieve a can of gas before the car explodes. In the aftermath, all three of them are visibly distressed, but Ricky is even more upset as she believes that she killed them. She also regrets accompanying them in this hell. Will tries to console her, saying that if they didn't do so, they would be dead. However, she is overwhelmed by the guilt, so she asks Will to pull over. She then exits the vehicle and sits down on the side of the road, believing that she needs some time alone to calm herself down. Will and Tom get inside the car and fall asleep. The following morning, the two men wake up to find Ricky and her belongings gone, unable to do anything about it. They continue on their journey to Seattle. Over time, Tom's health starts to deteriorate due to his fractured ribs. After a while of driving, they come across a train wreck where they make a stop. They will approach the train to check for some gas while Tom rests in the car. During this, Tom's lung starts to collapse, making it difficult for him to breathe. Tom, who knows that he won't survive much longer, will promise that he will always take care of Sam. He also reveals that he knows about his daughter's pregnancy because she told him that same night that they had had an argument. It is at this moment that I will bring up the boat incident in which Tom's precious boat got wrecked, all because he will put barnacles on his ball and finally disclose that it was Sam who was riding it in an inebriated. Hearing this, Tom believes that Will is a good man, and he will be a good father as well. After a while, the two come across a bridge, where they are stopped by a gang of armed men on motorcycles. Will tries to explain the situation to them, but he can sense that they won't let them go. In swift action, he reverses the car as the motorcycles follow them. Tom grabs a pistol and blows up an abandoned truck, allowing them to evade the gang, but tragically, Tom succumbs to his wounds in the process. Although saddened, he continues driving until the car breaks down. Not wanting to leave Tom's body to rot, he douses gasoline all over the vehicle and burns it down. He then continues the rest of his journey on foot. It's the 5th day of the journey. He is walking along a desolate road when he notices a jeep approaching from behind. He signals for a lift, and the vehicle stops. A man walks out of the vehicle and asks Will to help him since he has his wife, and a man asks Will to hand over his firearm. Following this, he leads them to his estranged father's empty house in Idaho, where they all take some rest. Here, he strikes a deal with them. He gets their vehicle in exchange for them staying at his father's house for 3 weeks. The man agrees to the deal, and as a result, he gets back to his seemingly never-ending journey. As he gets closer to Seattle, he sees that the city is almost completely destroyed. The mystery thickens as Will reaches 30 miles outside of town, where he notices dead victims buried in their cars under a thick layer of ash. Upon entering the city, the environment is even more ravaged, with debris and bodies littered everywhere. He finally reaches Sam's apartment, only to discover that the entire half of the building is gone. Just then, he sees a note that reads, "Come find me," and there's an address as well. Without delay, he drives towards the specified location using a paper map. He'd be completely bonded. Shortly after, Sam arrives at a cabin, where he's greeted by a man firing at him. He is a former neighbor from their apartment building named Jeremiah. Just then, Sam runs out of the cabin, and the couple finally have an emotional reunion. Jeremiah, who has been staying with Sam and helping her, seems to have developed feelings for her, hence, he seems to be a bit jealous. Later that night, when Will is awakened by an earthquake, he goes out to see the northern lights in the sky. They don't really look like that. He also notices Sam and Jeremiah hanging out at a campfire as Will joins them. Jeremiah starts talking about what is causing all of these events. He reveals a deep paranoia, convinced that the disaster is not natural but the result of an elaborate attack. According to him, a man-made bomb was dropped on the coast and caused the fallout. However, he completely disagrees with his theory based on what he witnesses out there on the road. The following morning, he spots Jeremiah inspecting his Jeep. When he confronts the man, the latter takes him into the woods and tries to kill him. Jeremiah says that he wants Sam to be only his, but before he can pull the trigger, he will shoot him down in self-defense soon after a volcanic eruption triggers a massive burst of fire. Ash and shock waves create a pyroclastic flow. Seeing this, Will hurriedly take Sam and the two away from the all-engulfing cloud, barely staying ahead of it. Eventually, they manage to outdistance it as it subsided. The movie ends as they head north, hoping to find a safe place. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a comment to help the channel. Thanks for watching.